Kayla Lockmuller, and I am going to be speaking to you today about the pursuit of perfection. So, who am I? We're going to be taking a deeper look into myself and how I've always struggled with perfectionism. So, I am a sophomore here at Grace, and one important thing to know about me is that I play volleyball. So here are some of my collegiate volleyball pictures that I've taken since I've been here at Grace. And I started playing volleyball when I was in the 3rd grade. So at the 3rd grade level, most of the girls there are just playing for fun, to meet new friends, but I was there to be the best. From day one, I've always had this deep internal drive to be the absolute best version of a volleyball player I can be. And this has impacted me in so many different ways. At first, this is something my coaches love about me. I have this deep internal drive to be the absolute best. But then as time goes on, they realize that this is actually detrimental to my plan. So I don't really get excited for myself because after each hit, I believe, oh, I could have done better than that. Like, that was average. I could have done better. Like, I'm not that good. And so I don't show excitement. I play very business mode because I think I can do better than that. And in my however many years of playing volleyball, I have never once said I've had a good game. And this is not something that you should strive for. This is not something you should want. In fact, you should be confident in yourself. But instead, this deteriorates my confidence. And this is something we're going to be talking about. So we're going to watch a quick video of me playing because I want to give you an idea of who I am as a player. Because I'm not bad, but I think I'm bad. And so here is a video.
Your vast selection of in-stock access doors at bestaccessdoors.com.
Yep, here's the video. Yeah, so that's me playing volleyball. And as you can see by that, I'm not bad at volleyball, but I don't believe that I am as good as I could be. So in that game, I had 16 kills when an average good game is 8, and I hit 750 when an average good game is 300. Even after that game, I didn't say I had a good game because I believe that's not that good. I can do better. And this is such a negative mindset to have. Like, everybody has this view of perfectionism, that it's so good, that it drives you to be better, but in fact, it causes your own downfall. So, a quote by scientist Helen Thompson says, "The desire to be perfect is something most of us have felt at some point in time in our lives. Studying for the perfect test result, searching for the perfect partner, working through the night to smash the perfect presentation." Often, having high standards can drive success, but for some people, diligence and motivation can shift into perfectionism, a sorely misunderstood personality trait that can have dangerous consequences. So what we need to remember through this is that there's a difference between a healthy drive and perfectionism. So a healthy drive is something that motivates you, something that pushes you forward. It's you pushing yourself to be the best that you can be. But this perfectionism is pushing yourself past that point. It's being the best somebody else can be, being better than you can possibly be. Like, it is absolutely impossible to achieve. And it's something that so many of us want to achieve, that we just push ourselves and push ourselves and push ourselves to get to that point. But really, a healthy drive is perfectly fine. Like, be the best version of yourself you can be. And whether that is in volleyball for me, or your academic performance, or in your career, or in your family life. Like, be the best you can be. You don't have to push past yourself to be something outside of yourself. You can be good within who you are. So what exactly is perfectionism? I've been talking about it a lot. Let's hear like a proper definition. So perfectionism is generally considered a personality trait, says Leah Skylar, a mental health counselor who works with dancers and athletes in Pittsburgh. It may have some correlation with anxiety and OCD, but it's not the same thing. When we call somebody a perfectionist, we are generally referring to a state of mind. So this state of mind is pushing past themselves, as I talked about before. And so what causes this perfection is broken down into comparison. So I'm breaking it down into a college student's perspective. There's 3 areas, which are sports, social media, and school. So sports, obviously this is what I've been talking about a lot because this is something that impacts me a lot in my daily life. But while playing sports, especially here at Grace, this is an NAIA level. So we are looking at ourselves and our level of play and comparing it to a Division I school. The talent level just isn't the same here at Grace as it would be at a big Division I school, and that's okay. But we compare ourselves to those players and think, I should be hitting like them. I should be passing like them. I should be doing this. But instead I'm doing this. Or you compare yourselves to your teammates, like, I'm not as good as whatever. I'm not as good as my setter or my other medal. Or you compare yourself to a different team, like, I'm not as talented as this person in my conference. Or you even can compare yourself to yourself, like, I didn't play as well today as I did that one time. And this comparison allows us to push to try to be that, but then at the same time, it like causes us to lose self-confidence. And when you're lacking in confidence, your play and like your overall performance is going to suffer because you're comparing yourself to something that's unachievable. Like, I'm not 6'7" and I don't weigh 200 pounds and I'm not an absolute mammoth of an individual. I can't hit the ball like that girl can. But in my head, I don't always process that. And I'm like, oh, I should be hitting like that. When in all actuality, that's not the case. Social media. So social media is becoming an ever more present force in young people's lives today. There's so many different forms of social media, so many different apps and things like that. But we can compare ourselves physically, like our appearance. So you can have the drive to be the prettiest girl you've ever seen in your life. Cool, great. But you start to compare yourselves to girls you see on Instagram. Like, I'm not as skinny as her. I don't have her hair. My lips don't look like that. Or a guy can do the same thing. Like, my hair doesn't look like that. Like, my body doesn't look like that. My eyes aren't that. Every gender does this. You go on and you compare yourself to people. And instead of being content with the way you look, you compare yourself. But another completely different side of social media is you want to strive to have the perfect life, perfect relationship. And this is on display in these apps. So you can go on to Instagram and think, oh, like, they went on that vacation. My life's like not like that. They got this promotion. On Facebook, they posted about it. I don't have that. Look at this relationship they posted about on Instagram. My relationship doesn't look like that. Like, they're always happy. And then you're comparing yourself constantly and trying to achieve that. But then you're becoming less content with what you have. Like, oh, I'm ugly. No, you're not ugly. You are beautiful. Sure, you don't look like that person, but your beauty's not comparative. Like, you just aren't them. You shouldn't try to be them because you're yourself. And this constant comparison is something that leads to perfectionism in school. So as college students, we are constantly in competition with one another and with ourselves and trying to be the best version of ourselves we can be. My dog's going to be my presentation now. Sorry about you. Sorry. Okay. So school, we are constantly comparing ourselves to other students and our professors and our own abilities. And we're striving to be perfect, to have that 4.0 GPA, to get all A's, to be top of our class. And this constant drive for perfection then it causes us to lose contentment just in the same other 2 areas. So what this perfectionism leads to. The problem is not having high standards or in working hard. Perfectionism becomes a problem when it causes emotional wear and tear or when it keeps you from succeeding or being happy. The emotional consequences of perfectionism include fear of making mistakes, stress from the pressure to reform, and self-consciousness from feeling both self-confident and self-doubt. It can include tension, frustration, disappointment, sadness, fear of humiliation, And these are common experiences for inwardly focused perfectionism. And this was said by author Dr. Monica Ramirez Bosco. And so, as we can see, perfectionism is totally misunderstood. It's not something you want. You don't want that because it leads to all of these things. This sadness, this frustration, this anger, this fear. All of these negative side effects come with being a perfectionism, and most people don't really realize that. So, things to remember and conclusions that we are going to draw from this presentation I've given so far. Impossible. It is absolutely impossible to be perfect. Perfection isn't something that's achievable, but you have to work really hard for. No, it is absolutely impossible. You cannot be perfect. Sure, you might score a perfect 100 on a test, but you cannot be perfect. You will make mistakes. The only perfect person to ever walk the face of the earth was Jesus Christ, and that's something we need to remember going in to our thought processes. Don't compare. The process of comparison will only make it worse. Obviously, as I've talked about in this presentation, you don't need to compare yourself to somebody else because you will never be them. You can't be them. So you have to work instead to be as good as them, instead to be the best you can be, because that's physically all you can do. Perfection leads to downfall. The lack of contentment will cause mental strain, thus leading to your own downfall. I've talked about this a lot in volleyball because that's what's most applicable to me. But when you're not perfect, you will become discouraged, and this will mess with your confidence. And this can apply to your career. If you're not perfect in your career, you will lose confidence, and this will cause to all of those side effects that we just talked about. God designed, the creator of the world made you, and we shouldn't disrespect his creation. God created you specifically to be exactly who you are. And if you're striving to be perfect and then comparing yourself, you're disrespecting God's creation. Sure, push yourself. Push yourself as hard as you want, but remain content with what he gave you because he gave you that for a reason. Be good with good enough. Remain content while still holding your drive. Again, I don't want you to go and think, oh, like average is okay. I'll just be lazy and be content. No, that's not what I'm saying. Instead, what I'm saying is withhold your drive, but push to be the best you can be. Remain inside of yourself and do what you can do. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. Here are my references, and have a good day.